Welcome back to the All Ball Podcast, where it's all ball all the time. You are here with your host, Sean and Isaiah. This is episode number 64, and today we're going to be talking about the craziness that has been taking over the league over the first week of basketball. There's been a lot of, unpredictable things that have been going on, and just things out of the norm that we've been seeing throughout the first couple of games. And we're just going to go ahead and cover it all. And before all that, Isaiah, how you feeling today, man?
Man, I'm about as happy as can be. The NBA season has officially started, and things are as exciting as ever, man. So let's just go ahead and get into it.
All right, so I would like to go ahead and start with this team right here that's just shocked me in a very bad way. And that's going to be the 76ers. So, to start, they're 0-3. Harden's had, it was his first bad game of the season?
Yeah.
And
he had two really good ones, their opening game and then against the Bucks.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, those are both good. And then now, this most recent game, finally.
So, Embiid drops 40 in a loss because of Harden's poor shooting. And here's my question, because I've been looking at how the minutes have been spread out. Why is Matisse Thybulle not getting more than 5 minutes per game?
I'm not sure what it is. I guess it's due to his lack of offensive capability. But even then, I feel like at some point, they need to realize that his defensive abilities are worth way more than his lack of offensive ability hurts them.
Mm-hmm.
Especially when you look at how, I don't want to necessarily say bad, but mediocre maybe their defense has been.
So, I completely agree with you that his defensive skills are overweigh his offensive shortcomings.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm looking at it, and they have, I think, more offensive weapons than they do have defensive weapons.
Exactly.
You got Harden, who's obviously more talented on the offensive side of the ball. Maxey, I would say, is a plus defender, but he's obviously a better offensive player than he is a defensive player. Embiid, he's a two-way, so it's...
But, yeah, definitely more so. I'd say that he's definitely slacked on the defensive end in these most recent years because he's been putting in so much more effort offensively to become, a scoring champ-level guy. So I'd say he's definitely an absolute plus defender, but I wouldn't say that he's at his DPOY level anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Or near DPOY since he never actually won.
PJ, obviously a plus defender, even though he's gotten up there in age, but he lacks completely on offense. Harris is obviously more of a offensive guy, but I mean, I could see, in my mind, here's what I'd want to do if I was the 76ers. I'd honestly probably want to switch Thybulle and Harris and let Harris come off the bench and kind of play that six-man role.
That's a crazy take just because I think they still have a lot of expectations for him.
Which they should, paying him his amount of money that he's making. Because he's making, around $35 million a year?
I think so. I know it's more than 30 for sure.
I just think that Thybulle's defense definitely deserves more than, the 5 minutes he's been getting a game.
You see, and that's why this is what I would do. I think I would put Harris at the 4 and then have Tucker coming off the bench.
I just don't like that because if Tucker's coming off the bench, then he's not really playing with as good as facilitators as Harden or Maxey that much. And
I mean,
obviously,
but who's to say that the both of them go out the game and he comes in. If both of those guys are out of the game at the same time, then that's a bigger problem with lineups than the fact that Tucker is coming off the bench.
Well, sure, they could stagger the minutes, but still, Tucker is obviously only a spot up guy at this point. Like, he's a catch and shoot, and that's it. And you have to have an elite playmaker around him, kind of like how he was in Houston with Harden, so that he could be stretched to his full potential. At least on the offensive side of the ball, which he's very limited in. Yeah, so you want to go ahead and move to another team? Because I think we have quite a bit to cover.
Oh, yeah.
Go ahead and talk. Go ahead and pick a team that you've been wanting to talk about for this week.
Let's go ahead and get them out the way. Let's talk about our Rockets.
All right. I'll go ahead and start with the first word, which is kind of disappointing. Some good stuff, quite a bit of bad stuff. What are some good things and some bad things that you've seen so far?
Okay, well, first, I'd like to say that actually, with the exception of last night's loss, I'm really not disappointed in the team. The record does not really reflect how we've played, which is where I lead into my positives. Again, with the exception of last night's loss to Milwaukee, we have kept these games really close, even though we lost our first two games against Atlanta and Memphis. But we kept these games, like, we were in the game the entire 48 minutes. So I think that that's a really positive sign. Now, I think the negative shows up, which is really what Milwaukee exposed, with Giannis being Giannis, and even Drew Holiday exposing us. Our defense is severely lacking. I don't know if it's like more of an individual player or just our whole team scheme is off. But I mean, if you look at the other games, DeJounte Murray and Trae Young, they played pretty well against us. John Collins was the star of that team in the game, though. Then Memphis, Ja already dropped a season high on us to start the season, bro. So it's like, all right, man, we can't be the team that keeps the game close because of our offensive firepower, but then lets guys come out and get 40 plus points against us every time.
So I actually have to disagree and say that the record does kind of reflect how we played. I mean, obviously, yes, we have 3 losses. We can't deny that. But we've started games really well. And then it's like once we get to like certain points in quarters, we just go completely flat and we hit these scoring droughts that kill us. And then it's like we can't get any stops on defense. And kind of what I've noticed is that Şengün has been better on defense this year so far to start the regular season. I know he was pretty bad in preseason.
Oh, you know what? Let me also say something about that. Yeah, huge shout out to Şengün for really picking it up. Preseason was very scary looking, but now all of a sudden he's looking better on both sides of the ball. I think being put on the bench has really reawakened something in him.
But I do have this concern here. So last night, so let's say this first. Bruno Fernando has started our first 2 games at the center position. Last night, Bruno Fernando's out with the injury. Şengün does not get the start. It goes to Usman Garuba.
Yeah,
so
I really did not like that.
So what is the Rockets coaching staff seeing or not seeing in Şengün to not give him that starting spot?
Yeah, I think that third game is really where it becomes concerning, because Şengün was clearly the second center in after Fernando would take his seat. But now Fernando's not playing, and all of a sudden Garuba's getting the start. And Garuba looked like a mess out there, if I'm going to be completely honest. There, like, I want to say it was the first two plays at least that I saw where
Hmm.
he looked completely confused on what to do when he was trying to orchestrate a dribble handoff. And then, like, he'd end up, like, facing up, like, just looking all around the court for anybody to take the ball. I think there was one point where he ended up like trying to set a screen for KPJ or something. And it was just a terribly coordinated mess. And so I don't understand how they thought that he deserved that starting spot over Shingun.
Yeah, I mean, I can't even blame him for being like bad in his first start because he hasn't gotten many minutes at the NBA level. But
Mm-hmm.
Shingun, the night before, just the night before, comes off a 23 and 12 game, and y'all still don't decide to start him. It's confusing to me, to say the least.
Yeah, that's a really concerning thing that I think the coaching staff needs to work out there because that's just ridiculous. There's no way that a guy has, I don't want to say a career night, but has one of the better nights of his career so far, and you don't reward him with the start when the position is clearly there to take.
Hmm.
Yeah,
So
especially
another.
considering. Oh, okay, I'll be quick with this. Especially
Okay.
considering that Shingun is going to be at the five, which means he would have been against Brooke Lopez, who's not an athlete anyway. Our real problem was who to put against Giannis, and there's nothing we could do about that.
Hmm. Um. So for me, my question for you is: with KJ Martin getting all these minutes, do you think he's kind of fell back into a, I wouldn't say permanent because he's obviously one of the guys on the team that's more tradable than anyone else. But
Mhm.
do you think he's fell into more of a solid role on the team to where it's more than likely that they won't trade him?
I can see that, and I definitely want that to be the case because
Hmm.
it definitely looks like it. It looks like he's really having fun out there when the team gets it going. And so I think that that could be the case. But another thing that it could be is that they're giving him so many minutes so that, he can play well out there and they can get his trade value as high as possible.
That's also a possibility. Before we move on for the Rockets, I just want to say one last thing. Everyone who's kind of concerned about Jabari Smith and his kind of poor start so far just needs to look at Jalen Green's rookie year and just be patient. Like we saw Jalen Green start the his rookie year really bad. He was struggling.
Mhm.
Once it hit that, it's like 3/4 mark of the season, like he turned into borderline all star level. So I think Jabari could probably do the same thing. There's no reason to panic 3 games in.
Yeah, I think while his, actual execution has been a little concerning, I think people were expecting him to be more of what Keegan Murray has shown to be for the Kings when that's just
Mm,
not the case. But I think the confidence is what people need to look at. He looks really confident when he shoots the ball. He looks really confident going for big defensive plays on that end. It's just a matter of getting those NBA reps in so he can actually, complete these plays cleanly, hit those threes, get those good blocks, creating a fast break, anything.
right. So what's another team that you wanted to talk about?
You know, let's go ahead and talk about the real elephant in the room, the elephant in the league, the Utah
Is it the
Jazz.
Lakers?
Oh
Oh.
no, the Utah Jazz coming
Okay,
out
the
to
Utah
a
Jazz.
2-0 start because a lot of people already expected the Lakers to be bad. We can get to them when we get to them. But the Utah Jazz coming out 2-0 to top the expected number one seed from the both of us Nuggets, and then the playoff lock of a team, Timberwolves. It's unreal. It's unreal that this Utah team refuses to tank.
So not only did they beat the Nuggets, but they like
Oh yeah, they killed them.
embarrassed them.
Yeah, it was terrible.
I'm looking at this box score right now. I'm about to count how many guys were in double digit scoring points. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 different guys were in double digit points. I don't know if that's like to say something about the Nuggets defense or the Jazz's offense. I want to say it's probably more about the defense of the Nuggets, but still, like, uh, it. Man, I don't even know. It's like not concerning, but the fact that they're winning games and Colin Sexton's even coming off the bench, I thought it was gonna be Jordan Clarkson.
Hmm.
Are the Jazz still good? Like, do you think they're? Do you think they might fight for
Okay,
that playing spot?
okay. You see the way you worded that, I was like, no, no way, no way. They're still good. They're like, when you put it like that, like if they're play in contention good at this
Hmm.
point. I mean, I could see it. After all, if I remember correctly, you had them at the not the I think it was the top of that like bottom section of the West. So
You're talking
them
about the
being
standings, right?
yeah in the standings.
I had them at 13 seed.
Okay, so right below the top of that little section. But you,
Hmm.
you have them out of the expected trash teams pretty high up there. So I think it makes more sense for you to see them and play in contention. But I
Hmm.
don't know, man. I feel like this is just some kind of crazy alternate reality start because this happened last year with another team. I can't remember what team. It might have been the Pistons or it was some team where they just got off to like a crazy 2-0 start and then they ended up it
Oh,
might have been the Magic.
no, I think you're talking about the Wizards. The Wizards were like really good to start the season last year.
Okay, no, it wasn't last season. There was one season where it was specifically like it was either the Pistons or the Magic. It was one of them where they were just like
Hmm.
really good to start the season and then completely fell off after the season went on. And it's like, okay, that makes sense now. So I'm expecting that from Utah. Maybe they don't sink to the bottom of the conference like I had them, but no way that they're fighting for playing contention. I if that happens, man, I don't even know what to say at that point. Just never mind. Just I can't even say anything, bro. We just got to move on.
All right, so before we go ahead and wrap things up, let's go ahead and talk about one more team. Do you want to talk about the Lakers or the Nets?
I feel like the Lakers again. People already expected them to be bad. It's kind of beating a dead horse talking about the Lakers.
I mean, they're pretty bad though. Like that's like it's talked about a lot, but they're so bad that it's like it deserves that much attention.
Okay, I say we can just rapid fire both. We can just knock them both out with like quick talking points.
All
So
right,
I'll say
so
for the Lakers, just to my quick talking points. Don't want to jinx anything, so I'm not gonna say the name. But a
mhm.
certain superstar old player for the Lakers is not looking like himself. He's looking pretty concerning, and it seems like time is catching up to him. But again, not gonna name any names because never know what could happen. But
um,
man, also Westbrook, they need to get him out of LA if they want even a slight hope of making the playoffs. Because he's doing nothing but making this team worse than it already is.
All I have to say about the Lakers, just to keep it short, is just let go of the picks. Let them go. Trade them. Teams see them as valuable because they won't have LeBron, probably won't have AD by then. Just let them go and just play, like, get as much value as you can out of them. Get another, either like an extremely good role player or very borderline all-star type of guy, if you could even get that from what you have. But they have to let go of those picks if they're even going to want to, like, compete for playing at this point.
You see, I think that's the thing with them. They know that that's why those picks are valuable. And so they're like, man, if we get rid of these picks for somebody and we don't win a championship with it, then we're that's it. That's it for maybe 5 years where they're just going to be in a complete dead spot like they were when Kobe retired.
I mean, I feel like that's the risk they have to take. They have, I will not name this person, but like you did, but they have by far the second best player to ever play the game, even though, like you said, time may have caught up to him. You have to take that risk if you're the Lakers. I think that's not even an argument that should be made. You got to do whatever you can to surround that person with the best pieces possible at this point of his career.
You see, and I think this shows something. The Lakers care more about their franchise and its future than they care about that player winning something now for them. Because that's what it seems like to me at this point.
Well, which they should. They definitely should care more about their franchise than him in general. But he's on their team, so, like, do what you have to do to not only, how do I put it? Like, you're going to have to sacrifice for later, for right now, if you want to win a championship. Because, I mean, think about it. Even if they don't win even if they keep the picks, that guy's gone. AD's probably gone. They're still going to be in a rebuilding type of mode. I mean, yes, they'll have their picks, but that's still another 5-6 years from now. They'll probably be competitive.
Mm-hmm.
So, tricky situation, but I think the obvious choice would have to be trading the picks away.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah, if I was in the spot, I'm absolutely trading the picks. I don't care if we're the worst team in the league for however many years after that. It's like, if it can at least get us to title contention, I'm taking it. But with that being said, we can move to another team who has a older, he's not as old, but older superstar player in Kevin Durant, who seems to be the only player who showed up for their opening night game.
So I'm just gonna go ahead and say I give up on Ben Simmons. I can't even like, I've tried to give him a pass, even, and think maybe once he comes back he'll be better, but he just sucks. I mean, I can't even say it any other way. He's just awful. And if you're the Nets, you've already traded away all your picks. Trade Harden. Yes, you get some back, but now you're stuck with Ben Simmons, who's making, what, $30 million, $35 million a year for the next, 4 years, who's already about 25, 26 years old, has no offensive game except his playmaking, and at times, like the first game, struggles to stay out of foul trouble.
Mm-hmm.
I think the Nets are almost as in a bad situation as the Lakers. Not close, not like right next to them, but they're getting there. If it keeps trending the way it is.
You see, I can kind of see with like what you're saying with that, but there are just a couple things. For one, I think the foul trouble situation with Ben, I think that was more of the fact that he was the primary defender for Zion. And so you're kind of asking a lot out of him to do that. And so that's probably the main reason why he was in such foul trouble, to the point where he just straight up fouled out. But then I still completely agree that it's time to just give up on any hope of Ben Simmons becoming a true superstar player. It's clear that he just doesn't have it in him for one reason or another. Not going to get into that right now, but I don't think that I don't even think they're in as close of a bad situation as the Lakers, because they still have some good years left out of Kyrie and maybe some good years left out of KD, depending on how long his body will hold up. We know that he's much more susceptible to major injuries, but I think that they're in a better spot than the Lakers are by far. Because even, I mean, when you look at the other guys on their roster, you know, Ben Simmons may not be much, but at the end of the day, he's a young piece. Maybe if the KD Kyrie experiment doesn't pan out, they can build something around him and see if that works out. They still have Claxton, who's shown to be a pretty promising young guy. So I'd say that that's better than what the Lakers have.
Like I said, I do agree with you. It's better than the Lakers have, but with Ben Simmons not showing any progression, Kyrie and KD, it still seems like it's just not going to work out. Yes, they have more picks than the Lakers, but they're still being set up for almost the exact same situation where they're about to bottom out if something doesn't happen. And with Ben Simmons, I know you said that he had to guard Zion, but if he's supposed to be this defensive guy, are you not looking to him every single night that you have a game and saying, go guard the best player? You're, 6'10", point guard that...
Hold on. We have to at least acknowledge that this was his first real, full game back. Other than this, they played a couple preseason games. So asking him to guard Zion on his first game back is a pretty tall task. I think that would have been a lot. It would have been a lot to ask Kawhi to go and guard LeBron on his first game back for the whole game.
Well, that's I feel like that's not even a valid point, though, because that's Zion's first real game back, too.
You see, but that's the difference, though. You know the game favors offense more than it favors defense. So when it comes to those situations down low, it's like they're going to give Zion the benefit of that call more than they're going to give any defender the benefit of that call.
I don't know, man. Zion's 6'6". Ben Simmons is 6'10". How do you not just stand straight up and down? Your hands up in the air.
Bro, the 6'10" don't matter when Zion can jump higher than you twice before you complete one full jump and return to the ground.
I get it. Zion's okay, he did cut weight, and he's like 280 now.
Yeah, no, he's still 280, which is very crazy.
I don't know, man. I feel like I can't make any more excuses for Ben Simmons anymore at this point. I mean, if he's going to want to be at least something, he's going to have to be the elite defender, but it still doesn't look like...
I'm not making an excuse for him in general. I'm just making an excuse for that one specific game. If this were any other matchup except for maybe, I don't know, Giannis, then okay, I'd say, all right, you're asking for a lot to guard Giannis, but other than that, no, man, I wouldn't give him any slack for fouling out against I don't know, guarding Steph the whole game or something. But yeah, anybody who's not a physical player like that, yeah, no. If he would have fouled out against them, I wouldn't blame him. Well, I mean, if he would have fouled out against them, I would blame him.
Right. I get you. All right. Well, I guess we can go ahead and wrap things up. If there's not anything else you wanted to talk about.
Yeah, no, we can go ahead and cut it there.
All right, well, that will be the end of the episode. If you like the episode, go ahead and leave a like and subscribe and comment down below. Isaiah, any last comments?
Don't forget, share the podcast with as many people as you can.
All right, we will catch you next week.